What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Fit Couch. I'm super excited today. I've got an amazing guest, Duante Moore. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, Duante and I met. We actually worked at the same fitness company for a little while, and ever since then, I've been following his journey on Instagram through life, and man, he's a really exciting guy, and I'm excited to have him, just dump some knowledge on us today. So excited for that.
Man, thank you. I'm looking forward to this, man. It's an honor and a privilege, man.
Yeah, awesome, man. Hey, so real quick, I know that when we first met, you were a personal trainer, right? You're doing the personal training thing, and I think you still are, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I do some training.
So what got you into that?
Oh, man, bro, that's a loaded question for a person. When I think about that journey, I had just transitioned out of working. I was what you call the intervention specialist with Kaiser Permanente, and we were doing collaborative work with the healthcare company called WellSpace. It was called The Effort then, but now it's called WellSpace Health. And so what I did was, in my trauma care informed training, I would provide case management to youth and young adults that were victims of violent crime, ages 14 to 24, and help them, get through their trauma, help them get through their injuries, and get them integrated back into society.
So this is actually like a medical-based setting type thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice.
And at the same time, I was doing quite a bit of community activist work, working in the neighborhood that I grew up in to help youth and young adults, man, with their education, so forth and so on. But what happened was, during that time, a lot of the crime activity that was happening, man, it was very heavy. And so I was very hands-on, and I was like right in the middle of the battlefield. And I had some family members and things of that sort that was part of the life, man. So me being an activist and an advocate, but then also being informed of what's going on, it was a lot of stress on me, you know what I mean? And on top of that, I was going through some marital problems. And so the gym became more like an escape and a therapy for me, you know what I mean? I wasn't even thinking about going in to transform my body. It was like, get me the hell away from work, get me the hell away from home, get me a place of peace, so forth and so on. And so when I got there, this was around 2014. And so the gym became that sanctuary for me. And
wow, so this was like really a mental health release more than anything.
Absolutely, most definitely. Especially having the mental health trauma-informed care training that I had, I saw that played a contribution to it as well. So it was like, oh man, this thing is not just, mental health as far as the practice is concerned, but then going and working on your physical health has a contribution to that as well, because it started doing that for me. But while it's giving me that peace, it's changing the way my body looks. And then I'm the type of person, man, I don't just go in and shoot from the hip. I got to know what I'm doing. And so I go in and, do research. I'm looking up different components and principles with exercise science, so I know exactly how to design my workout, so forth and so on. And then, because I'm a type of person that believes that everyone needs to be coached and directed, I said, I need somebody that can really speak to me where I'm at and also direct me.
That's a real mature way of looking at things, because a lot of young men are, I don't know if it's something that society has kind of like built us around or it's just inherent in us, but I feel like a lot of young men are stubborn to take direction or to ask for help. And I think that's our biggest downfall, and something that we as men and the next generation, I think we can really help the next generation thrive by like letting them know it's okay to ask for help. You don't know everything, let someone coach you, be coachable, and then you're going to be that coach for the next person.
Exactly. Right? And no matter what level you're at,
you
know what I mean? No matter how much you think you know, just like you said, you're never going to know it all. And so I needed someone to do that for me. It was kind of hard to find someone that can give that to me face to face. And so during that time, I'm just looking up people. I'll go onto YouTube and type in fitness motivation, so forth and so on. And in all these compilation videos, there was this specific guy that was in all these different videos. And not only was his exercises dope, but his life principles that he would share was like raw, uncut, just right in your face, dig into it. And I was like, I got to find out who this dude's name is, man. So I would go through everyone's comments and so forth and so on, and the name Greg Plitt, God rest his soul, kept coming up.
Huh.
And so that's when I looked him up, Greg Plitt, found his website, found his videos, joined his training program. And this dude, if anyone ever wants to know about Greg Plitt, look him up. All of his content is
How do
still
you say
up.
it again?
Greg Plitt.
Greg. Oh, okay, Greg.
Yeah,
Oh, got it.
Greg. Plitt, Plitt.
Oh, nice.
And this dude, man, really helped me on my journey, not just the science of working out, but even the philosophy of your mindset.
Which is huge.
Absolutely.
Might even be the biggest part.
That exactly. You know,
yeah.
Just like nutrition is the greater part, man. The mental, the mindset in it is bigger as well. You know what I mean? Because we both know, man. We know guys that look great, but there's really nothing up there. So
yeah, and I actually want to dive into a little bit deeper into that in a second. But I want to reverse a little bit. When you were doing the intervention for the youth, like what did that look like? Was that like you put together workouts for them, or was it more like a one-on-one counseling, or was it a?
It would be one-on-one counseling. It was case management. So what would happen is when that youth or young adult would come into the trauma care unit at the hospital through whatever injury, but many of them shot, stabbed, some of them were in the life, then they would bring us in, the trauma nurses would bring us in, the caseworkers to come in and interview with them, sit down with them, let them know who we are.
Which is powerful if you're from the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
They're going to be a lot more likely to listen to you.
Yes.
Than someone who doesn't even look like they understand what they're going through.
Absolutely. That is so true, man. And so when they would accept the program and we'll take them on our caseload and we just would do things from like home visits. We'll take them to go to their therapy sessions. There were times we would show up to like their court sessions,
nice.
Many of them were, fighting cases and things of that sort. And then what was so big about that too was the things that we got a chance to expose them to that they never got a chance to see in life. Like I always share the story with people. There was one young guy on my caseload, 15 years old. He had been stabbed 7 times, man, 15 years old. And we would take many of our guys on trips. And so we took them to the Exploratorium in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
And as we are crossing, I can never remember the name of the bridge as you're coming out of Vallejo to go into Pinole. And
But
that bridge. Yeah. And as I'm driving my car, I have 3 of my guys in the car with me. And I look in the rearview mirror, and he's just staring out of the window, just looking at the water like a 3-4-year-old kid, man, just amazed. And so I'm looking, I'm like, I wonder how often, he's ever seen anything like this. So
that's the ocean, because that's the ocean right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I called him by his name. Still to this day, we can't say their names. But I'm like, how often do you ever, take trips to the Bay? Do you and your family ever come visit out here? Do you guys have family members? And this young guy says, honestly, Mr. Moore, I've never been further than Citrus Heights. I'm like, whoa, man. But I just wanted to share that because that was a big part of doing that kind of work, was getting them exposure and showing them that there's much more in the world than just South Sacramento and Del Paso Heights and things of that sort.
That's amazing.
I
think we, those who experience things like that all the time, we don't realize, we lose sight of how confined people are to their echo chamber of ideas.
Right.
And in everything, like, this is the life I know. And people say that, but they don't understand like how deep that goes. Like to think that you live in Sacramento and you haven't been past one of the you haven't been out of the county really. That's profound, and things like that. Him seeing the ocean, that seems like a small thing, but I think inside someone's mind, at least for me, if I saw that, I'd go, "Wow, there's a lot more out here that I don't know about." It gives hope. It's like more hope, right?
Absolutely.
So that's great. So I didn't know that about you actually.
Yeah, man,
that you did that before.
did that for years, man. I did a lot of community activist work for years before getting into health and fitness, which to me, once I transitioned into health and fitness, just trying to serve myself, I saw how those components were equally needed for building your whole self. You know what I mean? There's so much more in health and fitness, as you already know, man, that helps us in our mindset, that helps us in our emotional intelligence, things of that sort, man.
Totally.
And even the principles are saying the same thing. I can learn something. I can learn a life principle just by the way we break down what mitochondria is, or we talk about time under tension. And you think, man, if I was to apply that to this area of my life, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? You got to understand that there's eccentrics in your marriage. You have to understand the pressure of going through the eccentric in your marriage in order to understand the concentric part of your marriage. And when I started building that philosophy and merging it together, I said, hey, I want to make this one. And I might be stepping ahead of myself, but that's why I came up with the Dante's Inferno concept when I started merging all those together. But absolutely.
So
man.
For those who are listening, Dante's Inferno, is that still a thing? It's still
yes.
So yes. Dante's Inferno, share with us what that is right now.
Well, it's the title of my total training program. Now, it's named, if anyone is familiar of it, it's named after the 13th century Italian poet Dante Alighieri. He wrote the Divine Comedy. It's a 3-part comedy, and the first part is called Dante's Inferno.
It's like how many circles of hell or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go through the nine stages circles of purgatory to get to your paradise. And so, coincidentally, my name being Dante, and then the concept that he had about intentionally taking yourself through hell, taking yourself through breakdown in order to get to your build up, in order to get to your paradise. I said, man, that's exactly what's happening in life, not just in working out, but even when it comes to life. Little do people know, we're always thinking about building, always thinking about getting better, but nobody's really thinking about the breakdown process.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're doing. We're breaking ourselves down in the gym, and then to heal, and then adapt. And that is exactly what we're doing in life too, right?
Yeah.
We go through some things that, and I'm going to invoke, some Christ in here, but we go through these trials in our lives, and it can seem like, woe is me, this is crap, why is this happening to me? But you don't know what the bigger plan is, that this is making you stronger so that the next trial you can get through and help the next guy get through it as well, right?
Absolutely.
Or whatever the plan is, God, if you believe in God, that, you can, it's easy to get angry at him, like, why are you doing this to me? But then years later, or months later, or maybe years later, then you realize, wow, I actually learned something really good. I'm glad that happened to me. And in the moment, I was mad. And it's kind of like on a micro level, our muscles, right? If we're breaking down our muscles in the gym, there's pain, there's soreness, all of that. But then we come back, we recover from it, and then we adapt above that, right? Yes, so I really love that. That's a really great concept. I like that.
And I love it, man, because now when any kind of idea, desire, or concept that I have come to mind, especially when it comes to the next level of developing myself, I now intentionally ask myself, okay, what do I need to deconstruct first?
Ooh, wow, that's good.
What do I need to deconstruct? Because if I try to put something new on top of the old, then it's going to eventually crumble altogether. So now, before this new thing that I'm so desirous that I want to get to, I want to build, I have to first break this old thing down to get it out the way.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So now, and that's what Dante's Inferno is. It's the burn, the breakdown, then the build up.
Beautiful.
And I highly encourage people to where whatever your dream is, whatever it is you're desiring to do, you're going into the stage of self-awareness, emotional intelligence. You got to think about the emotions that you've been conditioned, that you've been built on, that you've been cultivated on, and intentionally engage them. Now, for most people, I would advise that you get professional help to help you do that, because it's a scary place.
Yeah.
When you intentionally go in, and dive into old mindsets and ways that you've been brought up.
And it might be hard to be objective about yourself sometimes too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like it is nice to have an outside force say, maybe you're not looking at that right. Maybe, what if we looked at it this way? And then sometimes you need that outside perspective. So I'm with you on, just like you said in the beginning, having a coach, a mentor, or someone just to bounce ideas off. Like, hey, what do you think about this?
Right.
Am I thinking about this right, or is my ego driving this thought?
Exactly.
Right. And it's nice to get someone who's removed from your situation, whether it's marriage, friendship, work life, financials. Sometimes it's good to have someone removed who's not emotionally involved, right? To say, yeah, that might be your ego driving you right there, you know?
Yeah, because we can quickly go back into protective mode, into safe mode. You know what I mean? Just like when working out, there are times where you need a spotter to help you with those 2 or 3 reps that you wouldn't do on your own. Yeah. You just safely rack it. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with life. It's kind of like, nah, it sounds like you're getting back into your defense mechanism, man. It sounds like you're getting back into your charisma. No, we need you to dig just a little bit further and break that down, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of. I reposted a post today on Instagram that was it was like a little video of the caption was, you know, the Lord, the faithful man in me trying to make the right decision, but the hood still trying to pull me back. Right? So it's really it's funny, but it's really deep because it's true. Like we have these things that we want to resort to, thoughts that we want to resort to, actions we want to resort to, reactions.
Yeah.
But to stop, think, bounce it off someone else, or like you said, break down, deconstruct those old ways of thinking, and rebuild and renew. Right.
And you know what? And even at times, if you're becoming more aware of your authentic self, instead of just trying to avoid, or even for most of us, once we find out those different parts and hurts and traumas and ways of thinking of us that hold us back, instead of trying to hurry up and get rid of them or put them on hush, ask the authentic you, the authentic self, to direct that part. Mm-hmm. Because those parts of us have some benefits. They just need to be given a new role to play. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I learned that through this family therapist theory called IFS, the internal family system, that was created by a family therapist by the name of Richard Schwartz. And he found out that a lot of the clients that he was counseling would use the word part. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's a part of me that wants to do this, but another part is saying do this. And more he started hearing people describe these different sub-personalities as parts, he was like, okay, I'm hearing these parts. And then he started realizing that he would even say that about himself.
I know, I've said that.
You know, exactly. You know, we do that all the time. You know,
part of me wants to pray for you. Part of me wants to slap you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what he discovered was that in these parts, he started to see how these different parts were speaking from a different mode of protection, protecting the entire self. So you had some parts that wanted to stay hidden because they were the most traumatic, the most hurt, the most painful. So they were put in a category called exiles.
Oh, okay.
But then you had parts of us that played our managers. They were the ones that were there to help us navigate our day-to-day life. And they had a way of protecting the exile parts through,
from surfacing and becoming an issue type of thing?
Or even, and even being triggered. And they would the managers would do a protective role as, like, they would use like the good charisma that we have, or the eloquent speech that we would have, and they would have ways to interact with whatever is triggering those exiles to keep them from being, keep them from being exposed, keep them hidden. And then if the managers wasn't working, then you had another category of our parts called firefighters. And they were the ones that would come in and put out the fire. They would extinguish in a minute. They were the ones that, okay, no, I don't have a good plan to put in place, but what I can do is I can either go drink this away, I can either go, shop this away, I can clean this away, I can start cleaning and so forth and so on, and whatever that addiction is, I can sex it away, so forth and so on. Those are the firefighters.
Yeah.
And so when I started to even learn that for myself, as I'm discovering who I really am, when I would hear these parts that would try to get me to operate from the old protective personality, my self-awareness would say, hold on, wait a minute. That sounds a little bit like the old Duante, And instead of shut him down and condemn him, then my authentic self would come in with compassion and even ask that part of me, well, do you even remember how you got triggered? As a matter of fact, if you can remember how you got triggered, how familiar does that look to something that happened? And does it look familiar to something that happened when you were 3 or 8 years old? And you go back and like, you know what? That did remind me of when my grandmother, so forth and so on. Let's go back and explore that. So now my authentic, compassionate, and self-forgiving self is say, let's go help that 8-year-old you did. Let's help him. Let's take him out of that frozen space.
Huh.
And so that was that theory really, really helped me a lot.
Did you read this in a book?
Yeah, there is a book. There is an introduction book called The Introduction to IFS by Dr. Richard Schwartz, Internal Family Systems.
Oh, okay.
And he even has a course where therapists can go on and get continued education.
Wow. And
get certified in it and use it, in their practice as well. It's dope.
Wow.
You would love it.
That sounds really good. So I know I'm speaking to you as a not a licensed therapist, right? Or you're not a licensed therapist, right? Okay. No. So I was going to ask you a question just on your own opinion. Like, if we were to give the audience like a tip on how to really figure out who your authentic self is, or to get a better look at like who you're really meant to be, can you give us a couple pathways to that, or a couple of suggestions, at least to scratch the surface?
Absolutely. The first thing I would say is everything that you've been through, everything you've been exposed to, experienced, and encountered, that's not the real you. Those are cultivated parts of you that whatever that main event, main experience that you had, coupled with whatever heightened level of emotion you felt when that happened, created that sub-personality. That's not the real you. The real you is the most loving, most compassionate, most selfless soul that was incarnated here before all of these outside 3D experiences said, okay, no, this is how it feels, taste, hear, smell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we got to peel back all those experiences to get to the core of who we are, right?
Absolutely. Without any judgment, none whatsoever, no matter what you've done. And that's where it becomes a little bit hard to find people to accept you, so forth and so on, because it goes to a point to where no matter what you did or what was done to you, you got to be able to have enough compassion for yourself to look past what happened and not equate it as who you are.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would use the phrase like, we wear masks, right? So we kind of go mask off, like, this is who I am. I'm not trying to fit into this environment by chameleoning to you or them or placating, but like, hey, this is who I am. And when you get that confidence of, hey, I know who I am, this is who I am, and you either like it or you don't, that's okay. That's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah. So.
And then there's even times where the gratitude that you have for that event, for that encounter, plays a part in that new role that you give that part, that sub-personality that was created from that experience.
Yeah.
Like, there are times I have to accept that there are parts of me from South Sacramento that would always be there. So there's times where, Duante from South Sacramento is needed. Now, he's not going to be, vindictive. He's not going to, try to retaliate. He's not going to try to pump up his chest like, I'm a hood with it, what's good with it. I'm not about to do that.
Yeah.
But he does know how to be
assertive,
aware of situation.
Or assertive, right?
Exactly. He does know how to read, the room and things like that. Now he's not looking for a rival gang member to come and get him, but he can tell, hey, something's a little off in here, you guys. Things of that sort. But then the authentic self can probably discern it and say, well, see what's bothering that young guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, your interaction, because you have these lens of not judging, you have these lens of being compassionate to other people, to where now that new role is just engaging with everybody. You're no longer projecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now I walk around curious of, man, I wonder, what lens he's looking through. I want to look through his lens versus my own lens versus projection. You know what I mean? And so when people always like, dude, why it always seem like, nobody's bothering you? Why it always seem like nobody comes after you? And things like that. Well, because my electromagnetic field won't let it happen. If I'm walking in myself.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. I mean? Yeah, there's something to that for sure. When I actually first met you, you interviewed me for a job at the at the health club over there in Natomas, right? And actually, when I came in there, I don't know if you know this or if you remember this, but I had just been out of prison for 5 days at that time. Yeah, so at that time, I had this perspective, and I still do. I carry this like gratitude level of like to the nth degree, right? I've been in there with lifers. My cellie was never getting out, and then I had this opportunity to be out, and like the gratitude I felt was amazing. So like, and it still drives me, motivates me every day. But I had one foot in a negative way of thinking too. So it was like a constant battle of everyone's the enemy. I got to keep my back against the wall. What are they trying to get from me? And then the other side is like, hey, so that took some time to integrate back into not being like so quick to be hostile. Right. But the gratitude I had for life and for opportunities was completely different. And had I not had that experience, and a lot of other experiences, like that's just one of many, to open my eyes to like, hey, wow, I can look at life one way, or I can choose to look at it another way. Mm-hmm. And if I look at all the things that are going great and the opportunities I have that so many other people don't have, it can turn your perspective around on how you approach people or situations. Now, absolutely. It's something that, in the time, when you're going through homelessness or street violence and crime and prison, it's so negative, and you get sucked in with these like negative emotions and negative feelings. But if you can get out of that and contrast, you think in the time, damn, woe is me. Like I was saying earlier, why this is my life's crap. Why can't I have this life over there? Well, then you get an opportunity. It's like, hey, wait, when you start to become emotionally mature, mm-hmm. you realize, wait, every decision, every place that I've been is because of decisions I've made. Right. I made these decisions. Yeah. So if I want different outcomes, I've got to make different decisions. Right. Absolutely. Which also ties into fitness. I think we always tell people like doing the same thing over and over, expecting the different results, insane. Exactly. Right. And it's true. It's true in life. It's true in fitness. If we're constantly joining the gym, we're not getting a coach, we're not getting a trainer. We're just riding that coattail of motivation that's short-lived. Right. And we think that's going to work this time, but it hadn't worked the last 5 times. Mm-hmm. Probably not going to work again this time. Right. Nope. So what can we do differently? Which actually brings me to what my next question for you is, if you could tell the trainer of your first year, if you could talk to that person, you could talk to that guy, that Duante that was like a year into personal training, and with all the experience you've had now, what would be like 2 or 3 things that you would like to tell that guy that would really have made a difference? Not just with your workouts, but maybe with your coaching. Yeah. What are 3 things you wish you would have known sooner?
That you don't have to kill everybody. You don't have to try to kill everybody and have everybody, sweating and can't breathe to say that, you're a good trainer.
Amen. That's so good. Absolutely.
Whatsoever. And I would also say know the very, very important and internalize more what it means to properly assess. What it means to properly assess your clients. To this day, no matter how much things has changed in the fitness world, especially when it got disrupted by COVID, which everything got disrupted by COVID. But once, the reopening of everything happened and coming back into the gym, you start to see that, a lot of the trainers went more so online. There's a lot less face-to-face, which is fine. Things change. Things transition. Innovation happens. Disruption happens. However, there are essential principles that should never be lost with certain things. Mm-hmm. And so even when it comes to fitness, one of the things I found that it's still very, very important. And again, this is something that I would tell my first year of training, and I even emphasize this to trainers now. And I'm actually working on a trainer-trainer curriculum to help us with trainers, is that the assessment, if you do not spend enough time trying to get to know exactly where your prospect or your potential client is, that's going to misdirect everything else you do. Especially if you're a trainer just thinking you're just in here just to kill everybody, so forth and so on. If you're not really internalized that this person has a hip impingement, or not even just something physical, if during the selling process, if you really have not really internalized that this person is trying to get fit because they're scared of the negative results from the doctor and things of that sort, then it's really going to misdirect your training.
Totally. I say the same exact thing what you just said is because you, and it's something that I think we keep getting better at over the years. It's not like I'm arrived and I'm perfect now. It's like every year I get a little bit better at connecting with someone on a person level, not a fitness level.
Yes.
And like I really want to know emotionally what drives you. What's the okay, you want to lose 20 pounds, that's great, but why? Like if you lost that 20 pounds, what is that going to do for your life? How is that going to make you feel? How is that going to make your family dynamics better? What is this? So now that I know what their real goal is, and it's more of an emotional goal. It's not like I want to get big biceps. It's, hey, I want to have more confidence because I was picked on when I was younger and I was small, and this is going to be part of what helps me. And we know that that's not going to be the only thing, right, to fix those issues. But if we can, especially with nutrition, it's so easy to say, come on, just eat this, this, and this. Well, okay, that makes sense on paper, but in practice, when it comes to people, you got to meet them where they're at.
Exactly.
And I can't just take you from eating just garbage all the time, or eating once or twice a day whenever you feel like it, to something structured. We got to make small changes, and small changes that you can agree will work for you. Right. Like if I'm going to put, I'm not going to put chicken breast on your meal plan if you don't like chicken breast, right? You don't like it, then it's like, well, okay, how long are you going to stick to this, right? Yes. So, and I think that goes with the workouts too. Like you said it perfect in the beginning, because I used to think the same thing. Kill them. I want them to be sore. I want everyone in the gym to be seeing them walking with a wheelchair the next day because the leg day was so vicious, right? It doesn't have to. First of all, you don't need to do that to get results. No. Second of all, that's not going to create a great experience for them, right, where their mind's going to think, man, the gym's awesome. Like maybe for some of you and I, like we're kind of sick that way, and like I like that feeling. Right. Like if I feel crippled the next day, I'm like, all right, yeah. But for most people that are trying to get healthy and fit, if it's affecting their other parts of their day, they're not going to associate fitness with a good thing. And so the biggest thing, I think you probably agree with this, is just consistency, right?
Exactly.
Like I'd rather see you show up every day and do like a 6 out of 10 workout 5 days a week for a year, then just come in for 2 months at a time, go 10 out of 10, fall off, 10 out of 10, fall off, right? The consistency is just so much better, is so much more important. And I think that's something that personally I have grown to understand more, is like, let me just find a way to encourage this person to be consistent, and then we can build off that. Right.
Absolutely. And I like that, because when you can internalize that assessment and build that relationship, then it makes the journey a lot more enjoyable. Just exactly what you said, because you have so many people that come in and they have this 3-month magic pill that they want, this 6-month magic pill that they want. Exactly. Especially if their specific goals is to want to be toned. They want to be defined as like, nah, that's like more like a 3-4 year process, my guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know.
We got some hypertrophy we got to do. We got some muscle fiber recruitment that needs to happen. That's going to take some time.
That's the thing. It takes time, and people don't realize, they don't want to accept it, because you see, especially social media has been a great thing, but it's also been super toxic.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the biggest toxic things is you see these radical transformations all the time, and people don't realize like this is marketing gimmicks, like the lighting, the posing, the fact that they probably were doing some things that weren't very healthy for their body to make those transformations, whether it be drugs, starving themselves. I mean, these aren't, someone who says they lost 50 pounds in 3 months, that's not really for most people good, and is really not realistic for most people, right? Yeah. And when we see that, it becomes the norm, and you really don't realize that, no, building muscle takes time. Losing fat takes time. We need to lose weight consistently for a long period of time in order to maintain the weight loss, right? Otherwise, it's what everyone else does. The insanity of yo-yo dieting, going hard in the gym, quitting, all of that.
And then things are going to change. Things are going to change. That's why I love it when people, if I'm working out and, I get a lot of people that come and like, dude, man, your physique, bro. Now, I know you get it too, man, having competed. You're like, dude, man, how long you been training? I love that question.
I know.
How long you been training? Because I just can't wait to see what their face looks like when I say 11 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're hoping they can get this in like 2 years. And when I was like, oh, man, it's been like 11 years for me. I'm like, oh, really? And then when they find out my age, and they're like, oh, okay, good, because now it's an open door for me to tell them, hey.
So he's been training for 11 years, which means he's been training since he was 13.
That's the thing. I'm the old head guy. You know, I have a grandson. You know, that even surprised me. Like, you have a grandson? It's like, yes, I do. But I say that because it helps me to use the metaphor of investment and you know, the return on the investment.
Yeah, like an ROI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people are, if I'm talking to someone that is in their mid-30s, you know, and getting them to understand that these next 3 or 4 years is going to help you to enjoy your 40s,
totally,
your 50s, your 60s. I mean, even that, dude, the way I feel about my health, anytime somebody brings up something about getting older, I'm like looking forward to it, dude. I am. Yeah. I was just today when I was grooming, I was looking at my beard. I was like, I wish a few more grays would come. I want that silver fox look, man. I know. Yeah. So and it's enjoyable because it's like, hey, the bullet that you have to bite for these next 3-4 years is going to yield you so much enjoyment for the 15 possible plus years that you have, man. So throw those 3 months out the way, throw those 6 months out the way, make this your life.
Yeah, learn to enjoy the process, right? Mm-hmm. Because you've got to find a way to fall in love with the process, not the end result of the process. Absolutely. Because then you set a goal, you get there, and then what? It's like, oh, I suffered so I could get here, and now I'm going to go cheat on my diet. I'm going to quit going to the gym. It's like you should love those tiny struggles each day, right?
Absolutely. And then, because even when you get to whatever there is,
yeah, exactly,
things change.
Yeah, the goalpost keeps moving.
Exactly. Things change, man. It was to a point to where, you know, all I did was hypertrophy for years, and then once my body started looking a certain way, and yeah, I liked the way I looked, but then I was noticing that I don't like the way I move, so now I'm going more into a functional style of training. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, incorporate. You know, you start to notice like, nah, there's never going to be just a there, and it's just that right there. You're always going to have to work on something.
And I think that's something that for me, I don't know if you can, you know, this resonates with you, but for me, as I get older through my training, I start to realize, hey, my joints only have so many miles on them, right? Yep. And like, I love training so much, I don't want my knees or my shoulders to blow out,
right?
Because then I can't train, and then I'm gonna just feel lost, right? For so many reasons. So now it's like, okay, warming up is a thing.
Yes,
mobility is a thing, you know, and like I might spend a third of my workout in that section before going into the training, so that way I can keep training year after year, right?
Exactly, and it goes into so many different other components of life, man. That the longevity of how the body moves, how it feels, and then even things like, you know, you want to satisfy your significant other, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
So let me get this cardio to make sure, you know, since she's getting, you know, my endurance.
Yeah.
Part of me. You know what I mean? All
For sure.
Things
For sure.
matter, man.
Not to mention the hormonal aspect of keeping your fitness up, keeps your hormones in check, which allows just everything. Mm-hmm. You know, it's yeah.
And that's why even when this even goes into part of something I would even tell, you know, my younger trainer stuff, and I tell trainers, you know, even when it comes to advising on nutrition and supplementation, you know, and really push your clients to go get blood work done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just quit and don't go in these nutrition shops just buying everything on the shelf. Know what you're deficient in.
Totally.
The same way a doctor prescribes the right medicine, you got to know how to describe the proper, you know, supplementation.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Go find those things out. So, absolutely.
And I'm so glad you said that, actually, because filling the gaps on those deficiencies will really make huge differences.
Absolutely.
Like, especially things like magnesium or vitamin D. I mean, these are things that if you're deficient in, they can really warp your sleep, which is has horrible downstream effects, right? Yeah. So, and people ask me, what's the best supplement? You know, usually my first thought is, well, how well are you sleeping? Right? And it's like, well, I sleep like 5-6 hours a night. It's like, all right, we need to find a supplement that helps you get that under control. Because if we can get you good sleep, it's like the super drug. You know, it's the what'll turn you into Captain America. Isn't that serum that they're injecting that everyone thinks, oh, I want to be on the latest whatever, you know, anabolic is on the market. It's like, if you're not sleeping a good solid 8 hours every night, like, we need to figure that out first, because the downstream effects from that are just amazing. And then getting
enough sleep is one thing. You know, what's your activities, you know, before you go to sleep? You know what I'm saying? Do you have your screen and your phone on right before you doze off because, that serotonin is still thinking that it's still light outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was taking longer for the melatonin to actually take you to your sleep. So, can you sit in the dark for like an hour before you go to sleep?
Yeah, or read, maybe read a book, yeah.
Exactly. And that'll really help with those hormonal changes that you have, and that needed supplementation is getting the proper rest, knowing what your body actually needs. So, yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
So you said earlier that you started this conversation off with something that was like, I didn't know about you, and it's so amazing because right now I'm starting. We're supposed to open, I think April 1st, but me and my buddy are opening Lord's Gym up here in Auburn, and so it's a nonprofit gym. When we sell memberships and personal training, so it runs like a regular fitness center, but a percentage of our income goes to helping at-risk youth. Cleaning up, feeding the homeless, and long-term goals is to open some transitional living houses so we can get homeless or addicts or people coming out of prison who are going to go right to the street. No, you don't need to go right to the street. You got to stay here. Now, you're going to have to attend some meetings. You're going to have to pee clean. There's going to be some house duties, some chores. But I want to have a place where I can integrate people from prison, from homelessness, from addiction, back into real, regular life, and fund that through my passion of fitness. So it's great that you had that background too, because that's something I've always been trying to marry those two things together. Yeah. And so, Lord's Gym is coming to Auburn here soon. And nice. I'm excited because it's not just, it's a fitness ministry. Yeah. So I'm trying to connect with some churches around here too and see how we can collaborate to help the community deal with its issues with crime and homelessness,
Man, my brother, that is amazing. And it's going to thrive. It has no choice but to thrive. Because the more I look at what is being demanded by humanity, the Lord's Gym is definitely going to be an awesome supply, man. I always use the supply and demand principle when I'm thinking about things. And when I look at where the state of humanity is right now, healing, wholesomeness is going to be at an all-time demand.
Well, I think that Christianity is making a comeback right now. And I think people are more likely to reach for, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but my whole thing is, I want to make Christianity and God like cool again.
I can tell you exactly why. Friend, and it's my opinion, but I can tell you exactly why Christianity is about to be one of the hugest influence and impacts to people's healing. This is something else you didn't know about. And this is before I went into my trauma-informed care training. I went to theology school at 19 years old and I became a licensed and ordained minister. I was a youth pastor for 12 years.
Oh, yes. Well, what the heck? Yeah.
I was a youth pastor for 12 years. When I heard you mention Christ earlier, and I said, I hope we go into that. I hope we go into that. Yeah. Because I'm also integrating the mind of Christ into the philosophy of my training, as well as me integrating emotional wellness and trauma-informed care, and teaching people the principles of the mindset that I like to call him by his proper name, that Yeshua walked in. Many of us know him as Jesus, but the mindset that Yeshua walked in, the Christ mindset that he walked in a unwavering, non-stop, compassionate, just unified between him and the Father type mindset that just radiated to other people. And I really believe that consciousness is what's coming back onto the horizon.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
I feel like it is,
Absolutely.
And I'm going to try to drive some of that over here. Man, Duante, I know we're running out of time right now. Okay. I would love to have another conversation with you and dive deeper into this stuff later. Yes. This was great. I definitely want to have a part 2 with you. But for everyone listening right now, can you let us know where we can find you?
Absolutely. Instagram, Duante L. Moore, DuanteLmoore, Duante L. Moore on Instagram as well as on Facebook. All of my social media platforms is my first name, middle initial, and last name. So Duante L. Moore is where you can find me. All
right. Also known as More to Life, right?
More life to live.
Yep. More life to live in Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, awesome. So anyone looking at changing their life, changing their body, especially if you're in the Sacramento area, reach out to Duante. He's got Duante's Inferno program. I can attest that this is an amazing trainer. I've seen him make huge transformations with people, not just with their body, but he has a great relationship with them, and he keeps people around for a long time because, I mean, what's not to like about him? You know?
Oh, man, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for
All
having me,
right.
man.
Until next time, you guys.